Okay, so I know it looks a little different. We're having a little bit of a Hawaiian theme this morning. Chris has got his Hawaiian shirt on. Oh, John, I didn't notice you wore your shirt. Woohoo! So, yeah, having a bit of Hawaiian theme this morning. Pastor Leah is still out, but she is doing wonderful, according to Pastor Jeff, that she is recovering at home. So prayers are still out for her, that she recovers well. She has tasked me with her notes of preaching this morning, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I do it justice. We are going...
I'll let you know if you don't.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Thanks. Chris says he's going to keep me straight. So, we ended in 2 Samuel 11, just before, well, just right at where Daniel had gotten in with Bathsheba and all that drama unfolded. So it's getting to the good stuff. You know, we're doing the soap opera of David, that's for sure. But in 2 Samuel 11:6 is where we're going to pick up. And in her notes it says, "And David sent to Joab, saying, 'Send me Uriah the Hittite.' And Joab sent Uriah to David." So, when I was reading these notes, I couldn't help but think. Because David, he's realizing how much trouble he is in. He has realized he is screwed up, and he is trying to backpedal quickly, but save his butt at the same time. And all I could think about is when I was a kid, and I was raised on a farm like Jeff. We had horses and cows and all kinds of stuff growing up. Well, I can remember being a kid, and we were working the fields at my grandfather's house. He had an old, he did things old school. He didn't have a tractor. He used a team of mules. And I broke my mother's favorite reins. And at the time, or now that I look at it, it's like, okay, I should have just said what I did. But I didn't. I tried to hide it, and I tried to, you know, I'll just cover them up and no one will know. And my mother knew. She found out real quick and got my butt in bigger trouble than it would have been if I'd just come out and said, "Hey, I did this, I didn't mean to, it was my fault," but I chose to hide it and it got my butt tore up in the end. But like David, you know, he's still backpedaling, thinking for whatever reason, you know, if we just tell this, if I tell this lie, if I cover this, it'll be fine. God will forgive me, it'll be okay. And it's not the case. So, but what Leah says, Joab is fighting a war, and David messages him to send him to Uriah the Hittite, Bathsheba's husband. Uriah is out in the battle like all the other young men of Israel. David is flipping out. David is not running to God for help and forgiveness. David is taking matters into his own hands, and he is frantically thinking of a solution to this problem. And he connives the plan in his heart, and it involves a heinous crime to cover his sin. We know from the word that it's impossible, because your sin always finds you out. David is trying to save himself. David is trying to cover his sins. Sin is never able to be kept in the closet. It will always come out. Young people, listen to me. I promise you, you won't get away with it. You will always be found out, Benjamin. Sooner or later, it will be known. And here's the main point. It will always be known to you. Even if you never tell another living soul, you will always live with what you did. You will die knowing what you did. You will never escape what you did. It will follow you like your shadow. You can yell at it to leave you alone, but the shadow always follows you, no matter what you do. The only thing you can do is cast yourself onto Jesus for his help, his forgiveness, his mercy. He is the only one that can deal with sin in your life, past, present, and future sin. And notice that David never had Bathsheba again. He satisfied his lust of the flesh in the most selfish act he could possibly do, taking another man's wife, defiling her for his own selfish pleasure. I told you about the man that fell in love with me. And this is Leah, not me. Preface that. He fell in lust with me, and he wrote me love letters, and he told Jeff, I'm just loving my neighbor's wife. Do you see that this act was all pure self? We must guard ourselves against self. Self kills dead. The man died 2 weeks after declaring his love for me. Tim seen his white shirt.
He was just.
See why I told you to wear black?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I know. It's bright.
There's a reason I don't own these kind of shirts.
There is. Bless his heart. You look good though.
Mm-hmm. Have to get a picture of it.
There will be a picture. There will be a picture.
So we can't today.
Men especially need to think about what they're doing to women, sleeping with them before marriage. It messes a woman's mind up. You are ruining her for the rest of your life in many cases. Look it up. Women are not made by God to sleep with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. She was made to be with one man, the Bible says, and her desire would be for one. But most men don't care, as long as they get their own selfish needs met, while while usually the woman is looking for someone to love her, not take advantage of her. Women looking for love in all the wrong places allow themselves to be ruined. But in this case, I don't think Bathsheba had much of a voice or a choice, because David was king. It's bad enough to have someone in great power lord it over you, such as a high-paying job that may be threatened if you don't reciprocate sexually, and don't kid yourself and think that that doesn't happen. Before I go on, she's going to talk about a documentary with Clinton, and I'd never watched this documentary, didn't even know it really existed. I mean, I remember being younger and when it first came out, and I rewatched it, and it really kind of hit home what society taught us as women and what I've been taught growing up. But she says, did you ever see the documentary about Clinton and his abuse of 3 women? On 3 separate occasions while Secret Service was standing right outside the door in a hotel room. It was hard to watch and hear what these women went through. Do you remember Monica Lewinsky? Women, you must protect yourselves. It is the only way. But think about these Muslim countries. Women have no rights, no power, and these old men take 12-year-old girls for wives. I believe that is similar to what is going on here in our story. David wasn't a pedophile, but David had all the power, and Bathsheba was at his mercy. He satisfied his sexual lust and sent her home and didn't call on her again because his lust was satisfied. Self was satisfied for a time. He knew it was wrong, and he knew she was married. He knew the law of God and the penalty for it, but instead of falling on the mercy of God, he was trying to save himself. He had become strong in every way, and he was relying on his own strength and power. Think about the beautiful Psalms that David wrote, the tenderness towards God that David had. How could this be the same person? David is us. We are all capable of atrocities if we do not stay hidden in Christ. Sin is power that can and will overcome education, religion, and self-will. It can only be dealt with by the shed blood of the Lamb. Jimmy Swaggart says this: sin is so powerful that even though God could speak words into existence, still, due to his nature, he could not speak sin out of existence. He would have to die on a cruel cross, offering himself as a perfect sacrifice in order to pay in full sin's demands. I believe we are to see ourselves here in David. We are no better, and we are in the same human plight that David was in. Listen to what Matthew Henry, the old commentator, said. Giving way to sin hardens the heart and provokes the departure of the Holy Spirit. Robbing a man of his reason is worse than robbing him of his money, and drawing him into sin is worse than drawing him into any worldly trouble whatever. And so then in 2 Samuel 11:7, it says that when Uriah was come unto him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered. Uriah is pulled out of the battle and sent to the king. What? I'm sure his brain is fried trying to figure out why he has been summoned to the king. I can tell you right now, I'd be wetting my pants. Yeah. When Tim and I served, if the big boss man called on you, you did one of two things. You did something wrong, and he saw you do it. Or sometimes you'd get an attaboy, or we called them Bravo Zulus. But that usually was more people were involved for that. Most of the time, if the big boss man came at you, you were in trouble. It was not a, oh, you're doing a great job, way to go. It was, hey, let's have a sit down.
No, I remember that.
Master Chief Camacho used to like, I think he liked to see us sweat.
No, remember the CEO calling us up for a meeting? My little blonde-headed girl's not so little anymore. Craig. Oh no, you weren't there for that. I had to have that meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was having a baby, I'm sorry.
I was sweating under there.
I know you were sweating, I was
He
not.
gave me a thumbs up, a handshake, and I was like, our whole command went back for us. No, that's frowned upon.
Lauren, where was that
We were at the same command. but
kind of
We had a wedding date set. and
trepidation when the commander-in-chief came aboard and you just blurted out what you really thought about it?
Well, okay, so that was different.
That's as high as you go in this country.
But I was, okay, so the difference in setting, I will say, Robbie, is one, the command posts were different. I was stationed on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower when the CEO, or when the captain talked to us then. And then the second time when I seen our commander-in-chief was when I was on NAS Norfolk. And I told everybody that I was not the person to be in the office when he came in. I warned everybody before I said a word. And my chief even looked at us and said, hey, don't say anything. Just be quiet. Just stick to the weather and your health. And I stuck to none of those things. So, Leah goes on to say, she says, Uriah is pulled out of the battle and sent to the king. Wait right here. Did he do something wrong? Can you imagine the fear that that had to have consumed him? David demanded of Uriah how Joab was doing in the war. What? You pull a common soldier of the battle to ask him how your chief commander is doing. I'm sure Uriah's mind is literally spinning as these questions are being asked. He had to think carefully, yet on the fly, as to what to say. Would you criticize the commander of the army to the king, even if you disagreed with him? Oh my gosh, this is a terrible position. I think that Uriah has unjustly found himself in. And it said that David demanded of Uriah to tell him how Joab did. He demanded. David is pushing Uriah around. David demanded to know how the men of Israel fared and how the war was going. Talk about pressure. I just don't know that I could have done the same, being in David's shoes. Because I think about it from this side of, he's really just trying to butter him up, so to speak. Trying to justify what he's done to his wife. And he doesn't care what's going on at the battle. He doesn't care how the men are faring. He doesn't really care if Joab's doing a good job or a bad job. He's really just wanting fluff. And Uriah is scared of his pants. I mean, for lack of a better term. Leah says the same thing. Sorry, I got ahead. She says, but the truth was, David probably didn't care. He was keeping up appearances before he divulged the real reason for calling Uriah to him. I bet David was a nervous wreck talking to Uriah, and probably his heart is racing. He's coming across demanding, probably out of self-preservation to keep himself in control. The pressure sin has put him under, I would say, at this moment is the worst day of his life. The battle he is facing at this moment far exceeds the battle with Goliath. Far exceeds the battle with Saul that he endured for 15 years. I believe that this battle with Uriah is the most intense battle of the soul that David had ever experienced. A battle with sin that he cannot win. No one on the face of the earth can battle sin and win. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you will escape the plan of the devil for your life. How is David going to handle this problem of a baby with another man's wife that he abused? Will he confess to Joab? Will he confess to Uriah and beg for his forgiveness? Will he confess to God? What is David going to do? He is in major trouble. Even the king can get himself in a mess. And David said to Uriah in verse 8, go down to thy house and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. Now, if Uriah is not suspicious, then he's an idiot. But who is he to question? That's his king. That's what I couldn't get. We're not talking, it's not as if you're having a peer moment. You know, your best friend standing in front of you. He is literally your boss, your king. He gets to decide whether you live or die for his means any necessary. And David's just like, well, just go do this. I just need you to go do this simple thing for me. You've done a great job, and
You're right, obviously couldn't figure it out. You call me from the battlefield, and you just want to know how things are going? Duh. You already had people that could tell you that.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you want?
Yeah, and then for him to ask,
Oh, go home.
you know, oh yeah, just go be with your wife. Go spend some, go take a holiday. Like,
Maybe today your boss would do that, but back then your boss.
well, I mean, when I was pregnant with Olivia, and I was a little bit upset at Tim when he did this to me. I get why he did it, but I was a little upset.
Good timing with the laughter.
I had gotten maternity pictures. I wanted to surprise him when he came home with maternity pictures. So I went and did maternity. I did, the whole
You totally
setup.
shot it down, didn't you?
No. He surprised me by telling me 2 days, the day that I got the maternity pictures, he was like, I need to tell you something, and I'm only telling you this because I'm scared you'll go into labor, and I can't remember your due date at this point in time, and I don't want you to go into labor when we're at the airport, so I'm going to tell you now. I'm coming home tomorrow. Not a, hey, and I started crying, and I was kind of mad, but I kind of wasn't, because it's like, okay, he's going to be home, he's going to make it for the birth, that's awesome. But on the other side of it, I was like, I just had maternity pictures. You couldn't have waited to tell me 2 days ago. I could have rescheduled. It was a big thing. But anyway, it just reminded me in that moment, like, when he was given they were like, okay, you're going to be a first-time dad. Like, go home. He didn't think twice. He didn't think, okay, what's the catch? He didn't think it was, hey, I don't want you to go into labor. I'm coming home. And it just, that's what I think of when Uriah was sent, because on the one hand, it's like he questioned that to an extent, like, okay, when's the other shoe gonna drop, so to speak. And when I'm coming home, didn't think twice about it. And it kind of blew my mind a little bit in that moment. But what did he do? He has no idea why he was called out of battle. He has no idea why he was singled out. He has no idea why he was being sent home. He has no idea why the king is being so kind to him. Men, what would be going through your mind? Leah wants to know.
I have no idea. Although I probably would not have reacted the same way Uriah did by laying outside the king's door the whole time.
I don't know that I could have.
I probably would have walked into his trap. And 9 months later, I'd be like, hey, my dad! Looks nothing like me.
He's a lot different.
Yeah, David looks like the king.
And we may have covered this already, but Uriah the Hittite.
Mm-hmm.
The Hittite is a conquered group of people that aligned with David and the Israelites. And Uriah was the king of them, or
He was a Hittite. He was not Jewish. But he was obviously fighting for the king. And he was he had become part of Israel.
was he a leader of the Hittites, or was he just
I
a?
don't think the Hittites were a collective people group.
Well, they spell it out, the Hittite is
With
like.
a leader anymore. I think they were probably still a sect, an ethnic group within Israel at the time. You'd have to go back and look though, I'm not sure.
Or,
But I don't think he was a.
The way I looked at it, or like as I was deep diving, not just through her notes, but deep diving into it myself, it almost seemed like he was just a pawn through the whole thing. That he was not really of any significance other than being, the name has left me, Bathsheba's husband.
But he wasn't just a foot soldier, because he was obviously a captain of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't like a nobody.
No.
But he was probably like, middle to upper.
Almost seeming like a sergeant.
Yeah.
if he was a leader of another group and David just wanted feedback on Joab, somewhat innocent from a military perspective, how did, I kind of trust you or whatever, how did my man do? What do I need to know? I respect your perspective. I don't know if any of that's in there or not, but that's just the way I'm reading it. You could have been militarily reading into the situation. It could have been just.
Well, that would be his plausible excuse.
Well, yeah.
I think that was his plaza. He wasn't really wanting to know.
He had to come up with some reason to call him back from the
But
war.
it made a little sense, because he wasn't just a foot soldier.
Right.
Right.
As an outsider, you have a different point of view.
But he
And
didn't.
honestly, if it were a foot soldier, I don't think David would have cared that it would have caused an issue.
I think David's bestowing a little bit of respect upon him that we're not seeing here.
Well, that's my point. Like the whole
He's
reason.
buttering him up.
The whole reason that David cared is because Uriah wasn't just a lowly foot soldier. He actually was somebody of authority, and that would be really bad. Where if it was just some guy's wife that was on the front line, you could just have him killed for any reason and be done with it and not even worry about it.
That is true. So David is thinking that he will set the scene for this man to fulfill his natural physical desire to be with his wife. And he will set their table with food and fun to make it more conducive for them to come together physically after this time of separation, which sometimes takes a little effort to overcome when you've been apart for a long time. David is wining and dining them to set the stage for a night of pure romance that will result in a pregnancy or appear to be that way, and then Uriah will be the daddy, even though the baby will look like David. Yes, David has a well-orchestrated plan, but it will not work because God won't allow his sin to be covered, nor will God allow your sin to be covered. In his mercy, In his mercy, he caused him to face sin, so that we have no alternative but cast it on him and seek his forgiveness and deliverance before it kills us and casts our soul in hell. So David's not as crafty as he thinks he is.
He has limited options.
Very limited options.
It just occurred to me too, the fact that Uriah was a Hittite might have made the baby look more different than if it was David's baby.
I know.
That's also a possibility.
That's
Yeah.
true too.
We don't think about what they look like back then. You think
Yeah, I
everybody
don't
looks
know
the
what
same.
Hittites looked like.
I don't either.
That never occurred to me. Oh, he might look real different.
He might.
It would definitely be a shock, I know. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and went not down to his house. So he didn't go home to have a romantic dinner. If I could talk, that would be great. He didn't go home to have a romantic dinner with his wife.
And he had a slew of witnesses that he didn't go home.
Yeah.
That is for sure. I keep putting myself in that position because what would I have done? Because I can't say that for me to be called out of a battle that's important. It's not something that was just, oh, we're arguing. No, it's important, and I need to be there for him to be like, oh, well, it's, I just want to know how everybody's doing. Is everything going like it's supposed to? And then go, okay, well, I want you to go have some alone time with your wife, be with her, and let's just have, go enjoy some much needed time with your wife. And Uriah's like, thumbs up. I don't know why, but I'm going to sit right here and wait for it. I wouldn't have done that. See ya. Bye. Hey, Tim, we're going to Disney. Or Florida, somewhere. And I wouldn't have hesitated. Probably been in trouble afterwards, but...
It kind of makes me think of what David did in not killing Saul. He knew his place, and Uriah is kind of doing the honoring and knowing his place, right? And he knows something's not quite right, but he still is honoring. I don't know, he's not leaving his men. I don't know. I think it's just it's a whole different mindset than what would happen today.
Whole different mindset.
Yeah.
And David had been sliding away from God for years.
Yeah.
He had so many wives and concubines and kids by now, it was
Well,
pitiful.
I was thinking last week too that with this, before he saw Bathsheba, if he'd have been where he was supposed to be,
Right.
Right.
It wouldn't have
he'd have never saw her.
Yeah.
Who's to say he wouldn't have been tempted later, but he wouldn't have saw her then,
Right.
and he wouldn't have been tempted in that moment. And I only, you can think back and, all the things that he'd done wrong up until this point. And it just kind of, it blew it blows, if we would just be where we're supposed to be, instead of making a left at Albuquerque, like we so lovely tend to do, we'd be where we're supposed to be and not.
And not only that, he was waking up in the late afternoon.
Yeah.
Even if he stayed home, he should have not been staying up all night looking out the window.
And once you start down that slippery slope of sin,
Oh, it
it's
just
easier to do it the next time and easier the next time.
and it falls right.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to fall into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I find it hard to believe that she was innocent.
And that's kind of what blew my mind too. Is
Yeah.
it doesn't say
No,
that she was.
but the
Objected
first
or
thing she
fought
did
off or-
is run and say, our son's gonna be the next king.
she's not, like,
You know, she's like thinking ahead already.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I don't know.
I don't, it never talks bad about her, which kind of blows my mind, because it's like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, and I couldn't understand why there was no ulterior motive after on her part, or at least holding David accountable to an extent, or wanting to know, okay, we've done this, now what?
Sometimes things are said by not being said.
Yeah.
That's true.
And in this case, I know that might sound kind of, you know, what does that mean, but I think you all get it.
Mm-hmm.
Society treated women as non-entities
Yeah,
That's true.
in a lot of cultures back then, and that could have been the reason.
yeah.
If she got pregnant by David, look what she.
I mean, how much respect they have for women with all the concubines, and, you know, this example by David is certainly,
Yeah.
he wasn't the first, wouldn't be the last,
No,
but it was just part of the way things went.
Yeah.
So,
but the fact that it's just like, he feeds that lust, and how quickly it depletes itself. That lust didn't last. It wasn't, you know, he didn't continuously have her. It was like, okay, I fed that, I scratched that itch, so to speak,
Mhm.
and I'm
Although
done.
he did, after Uriah died,
Yeah,
send for her and have her come.
that is true. He did do the right
Be
thing.
the wife, not just be a concubine, but be his wife.
Wife.
wife number one.
8 maybe.
That number.
But he could have took her just as a concubine.
He could have.
Or just ignored her, but.
He was king, he could do anything.
Yeah.
Must have cared about the child. Was the child a son? Did we ever learn
I don't
Sort of
think so.
so, but I don't know that it says.
I know there's a lineage thing after that it
Yes,
talks
bore
about.
him a son,
that? Hey,
verse 27.
that before you married her?
Yeah, well, no, after.
After.
He already had 20 sons and 1 daughter.
What?
The
Because
next
he
one?
had wives, I can't pronounce them all. Abigail, Maacah, Haggith, Abital, Eglah.
I just can't. Egla is the one name out of all his wives I can't get past.
Doing the studies, I found it
And
here
Leah
and
had
there.
went through
Because
the,
some of this stuff is here, some's over there, and some's back yonder.
Mm-hmm. Sounds back yonder.
Well, it's in 2 Samuel and Chronicles and, you know, it's in different places.
scattered.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And it's like Satan knew exactly what to use
Oh,
to get David.
exactly.
He had a weakness in that area.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, if he'd have been where he was supposed to be,
yeah.
Well, that's a huge life lesson. Just never put yourself in the wrong position, then you won't have the problem.
then you won't have to deal with that.
But we do, we think we can handle it.
Oh yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
I know.
And he never had an idea of being faithful to one woman.
No.
Obviously, he had had many women, and, oh, there's another one, let's just,
That
add
was
that
my
to the
point.
list.
Mm-hmm.
What is the old saying? Sin will take you
Further
further
than you wanted to go.
and deeper than you ever thought.
Cost you more than you wanted to pay.
Yeah,
And keep you longer than you wanted to stay.
yeah.
I love that saying, it's so true.
That's.
You got nothing to add to that?
What am I gonna add to that, Chris? That's pretty definitive in itself.
It was like a look on your face. They said it, I don't have.
I don't need to add nothing. I'm simple, sorry, he likes to make me complicated.
No, I mean, that's wisdom. A lot of people just,
How's everybody tonight? I'm still looking for it to come out.
Oh, real funny. So, Leah says, I really think that Uriah cannot figure out what is going on. I believe that his mind is reeling. He cannot just go home and live it up with his wife when his friends and comrades are back on the line fighting the enemy of their nation. He can't figure out why the king is being so nice to him. And I think he feels guilty for accepting the favoritism and the kindness from the king. I think he is still too focused on his duty because Uriah is a good man. He's loyal to the king, he's loyal to Israel, and he's loyal to God, and those things take precedence in his life over getting his fleshly needs taken care of, and yes, even over the love that he has for his wife. Sin always affects those around you. David's sin is impacting Uriah. Cain's sin impacted Abel. In both stories, the innocent died. Your sin can kill someone. Sin kills. David is not thinking of murder here, but that's where sin leads. You hear people say, I'm not hurting anyone but myself. But they are. Someone else is always hurt by our sin. Who pays the dearest price in divorce? The children, of course. The most innocent of all are always the ones hurt by sin. So true.
She's probably listening. I think Pastor Lee is reading a lot of female thinking into what Uriah is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, he's a warrior. He's been in the battle.
Absolutely.
It takes a little bit of time to deprogram from that. So he's disciplined. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think he's.
Well, when you and Tim will attest to this just as much as I can, but when you're with a group of people and those are your comrades, they become like family.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are sent to go do something else, or even when I came home and I was put on shore duty and he was out there, I still felt that camaraderie. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be involved. Now, obviously, reasons I couldn't be, but I still wanted to be supportive. I still wanted to be, I wanted them to feel like they weren't just going through the motions. Like what they were doing meant something.
When my first grandchild was born, his father, my son, scheduled his leave from he was in Afghanistan. They gave him 2 weeks leave, so he knew she was going to go by C-section, so he scheduled his leave around.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when he was stateside, there's a whole story there about how you have to catch helicopters and tanks
yes.
or whatever you can to get out of war zone. There's no taxi waiting for you in the deserts of Afghanistan.
No.
So anyway, he still had his combat boots on, his dress uniform, combat dress uniform, and arrived, by the grace of God, in time. The idea was similar to you and your husband wanting to get married first.
Mm-hmm.
The baby came first, and they were married afterwards. But anyway, it was January 10th, and in Afghanistan it was January 11th, and his unit rolled out on patrol, hit an IED while he was stateside, and his first sergeant and a comrade who was driving lost their lives. And I probably shared that stuff more than once. But anyway, just what you're speaking about, here he is over here,
Yeah.
and it's just hard to imagine. It stays with you.
It does. And especially when you think about the battle that they've been fighting. It's not like it happened overnight. They've been fighting this. So he knows his men. He knows their fighting style. He knows that the blood, sweat, and tears that they've been putting into that fighting. So he knows what they're going through. And then for David to call him out of that and say, hey, how's everybody doing?
Yeah.
Everybody doing okay? Everybody doing what it's supposed to? Everything going like it's supposed to? Okay, well, cool. Go have fun with your wife, and I'll see you next time. No. Okay, what's the catch? Where's the shoe?
Yeah, because it makes you wonder what Uriah was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems so unnormal.
Well, it doesn't write about her, it doesn't write about what Uriah was thinking, so,
No.
we're kind of reading into it, but, I'm sure his mind is not, and it says so 2 verses later.
Yeah. And when they had told David, saying, Uriah went not down unto his house. David is having Uriah watched, obviously, and the spies come and tell David that Uriah didn't go home. Well, now David's mad. I don't understand why he's mad, because common sense, but I understand, not everybody's, it takes a minute sometimes. David can't believe it. He finally felt a bit of false peace last night, thinking that he had dodged a sure bullet, and now he finds this out. What? I can hear him scream. Me too, Leah. Like, what did he do? Why didn't he go down there? Where did he go? What did he do? Idiot! Can't you just hear the panic rising in his voice? Can't you just imagine how his mind is reeling and trying to think of a plan B? Well, at this point, I think we're in plan C, but pure panic has taken over, and he has no one he can talk to. No one that he can confess this horrible sin to. No one that he can ask for advice. He's the king. How can he face anyone with this sin? Sure, the servants knew about it, but he can't admit to it or allow his upper echelon to know about it. And if he as king does not talk about it, no one else will bring it up to him, even if they know. So again, David connives and moves on to plan B that he has just contrived. Go get Uriah, he screams. Uriah appears before the king once again. Again, he has no idea what in the world is going on. He has no idea why he is there. What in the world does the king want with me? His mind is once again reeling. Well, if this is number 2 that I'm being called in front of I'd be needing a new set of draws. Yes, Chris?
Part of what you read, Pastor Leah wrote, was he had no one to talk to, no one to ask.
No.
Well, what happened to God?
Right?
What happened to the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit? That's really struck me when that was said,
Yeah.
He has someone to ask.
He could,
He has someone to guide him.
but he felt ashamed. He was like, nah, I got this. I don't need that.
But he's been there before in different circumstances.
He has.
It's like, I'm in a corner, help me, lead me, guide me. None of that.
Nope.
Yeah.
So, David demands to know. Picking up where we left off in verse 10, David said unto Uriah, Camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thine house? So, David's in front of, why did you not go? Why didn't you go spend time with your wife? Why didn't you go down and eat the feast that I did for you? But he can't see that. He can't see past his own nose. It's mind-boggling to me. Liz, Uriah, why did you not go home to your wife last night? I'm sure David is trying to keep his voice calm and controlled, but he is panicking on the inside. Now, I think if David were not a man after God's own heart, he would just continue on and do something evil. But because he is still a man after God's own heart, that has made a very bad choice. He is being tormented by guilt. A soul with no conscience is a dead, reprobate soul. But by David trying to cover his sin shows that he is not reprobate. Before letting this get this far, he should have gone to the high priest and thrown himself on the mercy of God. But why doesn't he? Like Chris, I'm sitting here thinking he knew all he had to do was say, all right, I screwed up, like he's done countless times before. But he doesn't. He covers it.
He still thinks he can fix it.
Yep.
Well, it's just interesting. I mean, I've already said it.
Mm-hmm. That's why I always, like, when I really think I am screwing up, or I think that I've done something wrong, or I want almost like a pick-me-up, I read David. He screwed up a lot. And if I ever want to know what to do, or where, or how, or who, I read David. And I read about all the, because I mean, he screwed up a lot. But he always came back now. A lot of times it was groveling, which I don't blame him for by any means, but it just goes to show you're going to screw this up. Not if, when. And he's there, you just have to go ask him. Each and every time, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Yes, repent. Yes, ask for forgiveness and turn away from it, absolutely. But when you do screw up, he is there. And the fact that David is just like, I got this, I don't need him yet.
You know, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but it appears he never did.
Not until
No.
David is confronted him.
We'll get there. Hopefully. And Uriah said unto David, the ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into mine house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife, as thou livest, and if I could talk, that would be great. And as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing. So Uriah has said, all right, why would I do that when they are out at battle? He's holding David accountable, so to speak. Not fully, but he's just wanting to understand, okay, I can't do all those things, knowing that these people, my people that I have fought side by side, I can't do that. Can't you just imagine the shape David is in upon hearing this news? His heart must have sunk. I can imagine a full-blown panic attack ensuing. I would be surprised if he wasn't on the verge of hyperventilating. The anxiety must have been off the charts. He could have croaked with a heart attack right there. What is he going to do? His mind is reeling. What am I going to do with this fool? Of course, Uriah is not a fool. He is a good, honorable man that has suddenly found himself in an evil plot of sin that he had nothing to do with. Remember our verse in James concerning lust? Lust conceived kills, and it's going to kill this innocent man. Uriah that is nothing but honorable. Sin kills not just bad people, but it kills good people, unfortunately. And David said to Uriah, tarry here today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow. David is trying, hoping that given one more day, Uriah will not be able to resist going home. David thinks, surely he will not be able to stand it, and he will go home to see his beautiful wife. I bet he was thinking, if it were me, I would surely go home. I would have gone home. Yes, he will go home. But how could David be sure? The plot thickens, as Leah says. And when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him.
You got a shirt.
So the plot thickens as it is not going according to plan. David must further intervene and try to get Uriah to not be so honorable, and the only thing he could think of is to get him drunk. Okay. Yes, I'll get him drunk, and he will not then be so honorable, and he will surely go home then. David thinks to himself. And he made him drunk, and even he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his Lord, but went not down to his house. So, sending him sober to go be with his wife doesn't work. So now he's devised this plan of, okay, well, you're not going to do it willingly. I'm going to make it so that you're not coherent. And I'll point you in that direction. You'll go home then. I don't think he's ever been drunk. in this moment. Probably, I know he has, but I'm saying, like, in my mind I was thinking, he obviously hasn't or can't remember what it's like to be this way, because if you've ever dealt with somebody drunk, they don't listen. They don't. They go and do what they want to do. And Uriah, obviously sober, doesn't want to go home to his wife, so why does he think that him being drunk that he would want to go to his wife? But he does. Leah says, oh my gosh, plan C has backfired. Uriah still didn't go home. I don't think it was because Uriah didn't love his wife and didn't want to see her. I think it was because he was truly an honorable man. And how are you going to turn the king down when he keeps giving you drinks? We can't lose sight of the power of the king. You do what he says. So Uriah is drunk against his will, and instead of going home, he finds a bed to lie down in the servants' quarters. Maybe David got him too drunk, and he couldn't make it home. Who knows? Now David is in a real fix, and his mind is reeling. Think about the torment David is suffering under this heavy, heavy, excruciating burden of sin. He's carrying it all by himself. He has no one he can talk to. He's not even talking to God. The burden of sin will crush you and kill you. That's why the Bible says to confess your faults to one another, so that you can get help and encouragement and bring it into the light with repentance and humility, what you have done, so that you can get free from the crushing burden of sin. No man can free you from sin, but a good man can encourage you to go to God with it and point you to the Word and share their knowledge of Scripture and how to overcome sin. But David is facing this alone, and the sin is crushing him further and further and further. Ask God for someone to talk to. Ask Him to provide you a godly person that will not steer you wrong. It's okay to reach out for help. People don't know what you're going through usually, unless you tell them. God may lay it on someone's heart to pray for you or even share the problem, but if you aren't willing to accept the help and reach out, you won't accept God's leading. So now we're at plan D. And in verse 14 it says, and it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. All I can think of in this moment is when you get orders. It is a packet that thick. For me to go from the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower to the NAS Norfolk, my packet was that thick.
Government for it.
I know, we kill trees every day. And it blew, in that moment I was thinking, okay, he probably had a scroll that he didn't know was his death sentence. And in my mind I'm thinking, okay, I went from the Eisenhower to Norfolk. I didn't read my orders. That packet was that thick. I knew where I was supposed to go and how to check in. Past that, no. I didn't read. I mean, I could have been signing my death warrant. Thank goodness I didn't. But I mean, that packet that they don't tell you to read that packet. Here's your orders. Show up at your next command. They all from boot camp to Pensacola. I was in Pensacola mid-August. From there to when I found out I was going to the Eisenhower, my packet was that thick, and the only thing they had highlighted was the address to NAS NAS Norfolk, which doesn't tell you what building to go to. FYI, there's 27 buildings. They don't tell you what building to go. They say, hey, go to this gate and show up. And the guard that I pulled up to the gate, showed him my ID, and I said, I'm checking in. And he went, congratulations, bye. Saluted me, kept me going. Told me to move on. I don't know where to go. Okay, not my problem. I didn't know what building to go to. I go, okay, well, I'm a new check-in. And he goes, you're gonna need to go to building Bravo. And most people think, okay, well, when you got on base, there were road signs. There was not, they would have like house numbers, like when you go in a neighborhood and how there's, that was it. And this is, I'm older than Google, so you couldn't Google it.
You had to go see me. You had to go to personnel.
But they don't tell you go to personnel.
Or where personnel is.
Or where personnel, you need to go to building Bravo. So it was just kind of, my orders were not, I can't imagine having my orders and them being my death sentence in that moment. David doesn't know what to do now. He's at the end of ideas. He is so very desperate, so crushed by sin, in such disparity, suffering within, with no one to consult. His mind goes to the worst, as will ours, if we do not cast ourselves upon Jesus for his mercy. Oh, if David had only cast himself upon God, but he didn't. He continued to fix this himself. When will we realize we can't fix anything and call on God in faith to fix this? When will we realize that Jesus died to fix us and our problems? I'm telling you that I still get panicky over stuff, and then the Holy Spirit will remind me somehow to cast it onto Jesus, and he will fix it. Like me, David is not thinking about allowing God to fix anything. He is hiding his sin from God and from everyone, and this always brings disaster, and we are about to see.
Yeah. Your sins will find you out.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd have been far better off to admit it to this much sin at this point than to, in the end of it all, had to admit to a whole bunch more.
Mm-hmm. And he wrote in the letter in verse 15, saying, set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die. David. Oh my goodness, is what Leah writes. It's drawn out. Can you believe that this man of God, this man after God's own heart, has sunk to such depravity that he would actually pen the words to Joab and clearly state the words echoing his heart, put him Uriah on the front line that he may die. He didn't sugarcoat it. Uriah carried his own death warrant and handed it to Joab. Imagine that. What did Joab think? He has to be wondering, what in the world did Uriah do for the king to call him to himself and then to have him purposefully killed in battle? Joab has no earthly idea, but he must obey his king. How would you like to be Joab? I would not.
And I don't think Joab thought too badly about murder. I think he's murdered some other people, as I recall, and not just in battle.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, well, the king don't like him for some reason. Okay, let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good idea. Okay. He knows something I don't.
He ticked the king off somehow. Okay, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by that same token, he would also think that this seems a little out of character. Certainly there had to be a question of doubt in his mind.
No. He can't run, go talk to David.
Yeah, yeah.
He has orders and he must comply. And how do you think David feels after writing that letter and penning the evil that was in his heart? You've heard the story many times, but it's worth hearing again. When our good friend and mentor Bill Flynn was counseling a man in his church that had been arrested for messing with his own daughter, Bill was so disgusted and didn't want to counsel him. He was in his office waiting on the man to come for counseling, and Bill had a vision of a small cemetery plot surrounded by a white picket fence. He was inside the fence, and suddenly the fence fell outward and collapsed. The Lord spoke and said, "This is you without my protection. You could be just like this man had I not protected you." And the fence came back up.
There's, we're all capable of doing major sins.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
That we
But
can't
in-
even imagine.
Yeah, in
Mhm.
1 Corinthians 10:12, it says, "Let him who thinks he stands take heed, lest he fall."
Absolutely. Okay. Well, she's got a lot more, but I'm gonna stop it at verse 16. So.
Good job, Lord. Let's hear it for Lord.
Yay, thanks.